representation about people who are being tortured, and we wanted to hear your opinion on that also.
Well, unfortunately, this isn't the platform that I'm going to choose to respond to any of those issues. And really, the RCMP is not the people that you're looking for to respond to that. Really, you need to look at our legislators, our members of parliament. But the RCMP is certainly in no position to sit here and give you opinions on Canadian laws. Okay? I can't do that. I'm not allowed. I'm guided by my policy.
There's been documents, we've heard stories that the RCMP, though they might not be directly involved with it, they are kind of complicit with it through their work and everything. If they have questions, if they sent them to be questioned through torture, that's somewhat complicit with torture, and I think it's important that we find out why this is happening. Everyone knows it's a violation of human rights, and I don't understand how anyone, even the government or anyone in general, can be even complicit with it. So I'm just interested in your opinion on the matter.
You're not going to get an opinion from me. You're not going to get a statement from any member of the RCMP in response to that.
Then this is your job.
This is our job. Our job is enforcement, our job is looking after it. But again, I'm not going to get into a debate, into a discussion where we have 20 people sitting around
But isn't this what
responding.
democracy is?
It is no doubt, if you have an issue, yeah,
Person.
by all means, but you're talking to the wrong, you're going to the wrong place to get the answer to you're looking for. But really, the place is,
The RCMP. We're here about the RCMP's
again,
position.
excuse me, but I'm not going to debate with you, and I'm not going to respond to your questions. It's that clear.
Can you at least take some information from us in terms of our concern? Today, next week in Ottawa, a report is being released.
I'm not going to debate, I'm not.
No,
going to
we're not.
respond.
No,
I'm going
I
to-
asked
know
you
what?
not to debate.
Listen, you can leave papers by all means. You can leave anything you'd like to leave, and I will get it to what I feel is the appropriate level for response. By all means, but again, you can sit here and ask me questions, and I'm not, please listen to what I'm saying. I am not going to respond.
We're not asking you to respond.
Okay. I'm not giving you opinions, but by all means,
Okay,
the papers.
but what we would like,
To say?
yes.
We just felt like it's a good time.
Go ahead. You know what? You gave me 5 minutes, but again, you're not going to solicit a response from us or anybody
We
here in
didn't ask
the
for a
building.
response. We asked for you to listen. That's all we want.
Go ahead.
One of our concerns, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is the way in which the RCMP racially profiles people who are of Arabic background or Muslim heritage. There are 4 Canadians, Meher Arar, Abdullah Al-Malki, Ahmed El-Mahdi, and Muyad Nuruddin, who we have substantial information, including a government inquiry, the O'Connor inquiry, which showed that the RCMP, as well as CSIS, were complicit in their torture by sending questions to their Syrian and Egyptian torturers, and that they also hounded them so much when they were in Canada that it forced them overseas. So our concern is that this never happened to anyone else again. And as you can see from some of these placards, the RCMP knew that sending questions to Egypt and to Syria might result in someone's torture, a Canadian citizens no less, and they still went ahead and did it anyway. And it's important that you hear this, because although, as you say, you take your lead from the legislature and from the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, torture is not a charter. You have a charter right not to be tortured, to be free from torture. So it's our concern that both yourself and all the Mounties in this area really look at this issue and question themselves about what role their organization, we're not saying you individually are necessarily responsible, but it's something organizationally that needs to be looked at. And that's why we're here. We're very much concerned. We know the men. They spoke at the school yesterday. They're on this Caravan for Justice. The Yakabuchi report is coming out next week. Unfortunately, the Yakabuchi report shut the men out. It only heard from the RCMP, it only heard from CSIS, and it only heard from the Canadian government. It didn't hear from the men. It's a secret inquiry. So that's another reason why we're here, because although the government might put the shackles down on freedom of speech, we would hope that yourself and other employees here at the RCMP would follow your conscience. And if you are aware of what the RCMP has done, share that information, and we will support you as whistleblowers. It's a serious, serious issue, and you do have a right to speak about it, because you are Canadian citizens, hold the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Hopefully, you will do that in your investigations. Because so far, we've seen in the Project Threat investigation, the RCMP ruined the lives of 23 South Asian student conditions, many of whom they were never cleared. I mean, they were forcibly deported from this country. They faced brutal violence when they were sent back to Pakistan. 23 lives ruined because of the RCMP. These 4 lives ruined because of the RCMP. You had your big terror arrests in June of 2006. 7 of those men have had their charges cleared. So they spent 14 months in solitary confinement because of the RCMP. So I hope you can see that there's a pattern here of human rights abuses that are being directed against members of these communities. That's what our concern is. And I know you're not going to respond, but I appreciate you listening to us here today and know that this is part of accountability. We're not able to get accountability from the government because when we seek accountability from the government, they hold a secret inquiry. So what do you do when there's a secret inquiry? You have to come directly to the source. And this is one of the sources. One of the guys who was a biggie in AO Canada, who works in this office and now works in the London detachment, spoke at the University of Western Ontario last week. He was asked, can you comment on the fact that you were among those who approved the sending of questions to Syria that resulted in the torture of Abdullah al-Malki? He said, I'm not aware of any such thing. And yet, as we see right there, that's part of the record. That's part of the documented record. So we can't let that history be buried or disappeared, and we have to learn from that so that this never happens again.
Okay, thank you. And you have some papers, by all means.
Hi, Pastor, students, whatever.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just kids, you probably don't think we know, well, we probably don't even know half of it.
No, I don't think so. I think you're probably as well informed generation as ever have been.
Yeah, but we want to, like, even though, like, everyone, like push it back because it doesn't affect them, or, like, it affects them but not directly, and, like, happens with everything with torture or whatever, I just think that, like, you should really consider it, and, like, you can talk to people about it, and whatever.
By all means, I hear what you have to say. I think you know where I'm coming from.
Unfortunately, I do, and I wish you were coming from a better
Well,
place.
the thing is, you're not, unfortunately, we cannot respond. If you're going to get a response from the RCMP, it certainly would be through our media people. They are the people who respond to such issues in a public forum or something like this. I heard what you had to say. I think we found this.
Well, we hope you'll share that with the members of the detachment, and you've got our contact. Well, you tap our phones anyway, but we certainly hope that you would consider having us
I
come
think
here.
your statement about tapping your phones anyways.
Well, then who else broke into my phone box last week? But anyway, that's another story. But what I do want to say is that
By the way, who are you? So I know how
we're with the group. My name is Matthew, and we're with the group. Okay, well, you can check with your phone tap, people. We are with a group called...
reading too much into that.
No, Stop Canadian Involvement in Torture. And there's many ways that Canada is involved in torture, and that's what this flyer is about. And we're here to dialogue with you as people. We're not here to cast aspersions on you as people.
Unfortunately, as much as you want to question me, as much as you want to respond to me, as much as you may want to sit down and have a forum where we can actually have the free flow of information, there are certain rules and regulations that I have to abide by. And yes, I am a Canadian taxpayer, I am a Canadian, and I do have a right to have a social conscience, but I'm also a member of the RCMP. And while that exists, you understand I have my guidelines, and I have my rules that I have to abide by. And you may not like that, but unfortunately, people, as you go along the way, you're all going to find out, depending where you are. If you're a doctor, you have certain rules to abide by. If you're a lawyer, you have certain rules. If you're a minister or a priest, you have certain rules to abide by. As does this, obviously, everything every day. I certainly am belong to the organization that employs me.
But we just want you to know that we feel that you do have a choice. And if you know that this kind of behavior is taking place in the RCMP, which is complicity in torture, that you have the right to do something about
By
it.
all means, we have to struggle with this, and there is a platform, and there is a structure, and there's a process in place, that if wrongdoing does happen, that it is beyond the full